Okay, we are going to start the evening's meeting with our liquor control. So first would be to adopt our agenda.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second. Motion and a second to adopt the agenda. Any changes? None heard. Reoccurring matters would be approving the March 24th minutes of the liquor control.
I move to approve those minutes.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No one. I don't think.
I move to adopt a consent agenda for items 3, 4, 5, and 6.
I'll second.
Okay. Any questions on the consent or any of those permits? If not, we have a motion and a second. All in favor of approval on 3, 4, 5, and 6, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Public comment on liquor. Never is any.
We already know about it. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn liquor control.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Now, we go to the other side of the thing. Sewer Commission's meeting. And we have a motion to adopt the agenda.
Make a motion to adopt the agenda.
I'll second.
A motion and a second. Reoccurring matters is to approve the October 28th sewer minutes.
I'll move to adopt those minutes.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, motion and a second to approve the minutes. All in favor of approving the minutes from October, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No one? Consider the purchase order for Root Killer, $12,600.
Mr. Chair, I provided in the packet a purchase order with a little bit of documentation in the form of a quote from Rudex itself. They are the patent holder and the sole source for the product. This is the only EPA approved product to be used for this purpose. And the purpose is that it kills the roots that get into the sewer lines without damaging the trees. It's here because we've used it for many years successfully. It's here because it's over my spending limit.
Pleasure of the board.
Make a motion, we approve that.
You make a motion to approve. Second.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion and a second. Any discussion on that? None heard. All in favor of the purchase order for $12,600, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no one. Public comment on sewer. Did you want to mention the we've got fixed down there?
In the main agenda.
Sure. We have had a repair made to the north clarifier skirt under warranty, so that's operational. And the newly constructed south clarifier was not damaged initially anyway. So what they're doing now, I met with Bill and with our wastewater operators and with the engineers, and they are now trying to work with the manufacturer and installer to see what caused the failure of the center clarifier and work on what would be an appropriate replacement or repair for that clarifier skirt.
Thank you for that update. Yes, Mr. Bueller.
Yes, Brent Bueller. Since this is regards sewer and trees, does that fall under the trust, the Brandon Trust for funding?
It's an excellent question. I did make application to the trustees of public funds today for another sewer matter for a piece of equipment. I believe that something like this could be considered by the trustees, certainly.
Thank you.
Any other public comment on sewer? Unheard.
Motion to adjourn sewer meeting.
Second. Motion and a second to adjourn the sewer committee. All in favor?
Aye.
Moving on to the select board meeting. Adopt the agenda.
I move that we adopt the agenda as set out in the packet.
Second.
Second.
Okay, I know there's one change to the agenda, item 4. Mary Cohen that was going to come talk to us about 30 Conant Square is not going to make it. So item 4 is tabled for now. We'll move on to a future date. Any other changes or additions to the agenda? All in favor of the agenda as posted minus item 4, please say aye.
I,
Aye. Those new one. Select board remarks. I would like to start off by, again, our usual remarks of, everyone coming up to the podium that wants to speak because we need the microphone so that it's part of the recorded, meeting and so that people who are on Zoom can hear. Other than that, we all know to be polite and to act like nice little boys and girls. Anyone want to have any other remarks? You're laughing at me.
I am laughing at you.
Okay,
Sorry.
that's okay. Reoccurring matter, select board minutes from March 24th.
Make a motion to approve those.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second to approve the March 24th minutes. Any,
One thing on the minutes, it's got the questions asked by Tom Manning in here is actually Ken Manning is his name.
okay,
I've been wondering about that, but I wasn't confident enough that that was his
Yeah.
name. Maybe it is Tom.
okay, any other corrections? Unheard, approval of the minutes, all in favor with changing him to Tom?
Tom to Ken.
Tom to Tim. You say aye.
Ken.
Ken.
Ken,
Yeah.
Now I'm like,
okay. All in favor of the minutes, please say aye.
Aye.
The warrant.
I move that we approve the warrant in the amount of $280,630.04.
Motion and a second. Any questions on the bill? None heard. All in favor of paying the warrant, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? No. Moving on to item 5, town manager's report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the board, members of the public. I did submit my report. It was fairly lengthy, but I do want to highlight a few things. One is that the town highway crew has switched to the warm weather schedule, so they're working 6 a.m. to 4 p.m. Monday through Thursday is their regular schedule. And in particular, this week, there will be an alteration. So if you live downtown and on Tuesday night, when you park your car, please, Tuesday night and Wednesday night, please park your car off street. They will be doing street sweeping on Wednesday morning and Thursday morning, starting at midnight. So the street sweeping will be midnight to 6 a.m. Wednesday and Thursday this week, which means no on-street parking Tuesday and Wednesday night when you retire for the evening. So I did send out a text message to that effect today, hoping to catch as many people as we can. And it was announced last week on Front Porch Forum and posted on the town website. There, you may notice some of the downtown lamps are not lighted right now. There was a motorist who knocked down a lamp post. The motorist did the right thing and alerted the authorities. However, the only fix we were able to make immediately was to remove the lamp post and tie off the connection there. And so for safety, because that socket is basically exposed, that whole string of lights has been the circuit breaker has been shut off. Okay, so we're working on that. Also for public interest, there's a temporary part-time position. It's basically a half-time position as an administrative assistant at the police station due to an advised leave of absence. In good news, the town's attorney has issued the collection letter. We've collected more than $30,000 in the first week in delinquent taxes. And in fact, some additional came in today. So the letter's having the desired effect. The audit has come in from the external auditors. It's been provided to the federal government, the state government, and published in full on the town website. It's once again a clean or unmodified audit with no findings of weakness of the town's financial management or deficiencies in the town's internal controls. There was a lot of work by Sue Gage and Jackie Savella to work with the auditors through that long process. I provided you the summary sheet from the audit. And then by way of update, I was absent on Thursday. I went to Barrie for a capital planning forum offered by the Vermont Bond Bank. It was worthwhile, it was informative, and I have sufficient information at this point to help me create and recommend a capital improvement program for when we get ready for the budget writing season in the fall. And additionally, as updates, I have submitted 5 grant applications in the last day, totaling $500,000. Now, we are guaranteed not to get all of them because some of them are competitive grants in which the town is asking for, the town's competing against itself and other towns. So I've requested $20,000 from the trustees of public funds for some wastewater sampling machines. We currently sample by hand, and that's not been too onerous for our staff, but the EPA regulations are changing so that instead of, so we do the sampling by hand from time to time as it's required. It's not a big deal. But every once in a while, there is a 24-hour sampling period where they have to take a sample every hour for 24 consecutive hours. That's kind of taxing on the staff. And we used to have to do this once every 2 years. And now the EPA requirement will increase that more than 100 times as frequently so that it will be once a week. So we can't really have the town staff working a 24-hour shift once a week. We need to sample at the headworks, which is the inflow to the treatment facility, and at the effluent, which is the outflow into the river. So this was not a foreseen expense. This is not something that was part of the upgrade that has just happened. The machines themselves are not horrifically expensive for this kind of thing. It's a vacuum sampler that's expected to have perhaps a decade of useful life. So I've asked for 2 of those, one at the headworks and one at the outflow. And then the other 4 grants are a little bit under $500,000 altogether for Class 2 paving. McConnell Road south of Wood Lane, Union Street between number 500 and number 1157, Pearl Street between Corona Street and Short Swamp Road, High Pond Road between Cobb Hill Road and Hack Sawmill Road. Those have all been acknowledged as received. So we're trying to find as much funding as we can outside of the property tax.
Questions for the town manager from the select board? But he's in a mood to get home tonight. Questions for the town manager on his report from the public? No questions. Moving on. Community development, Mr. Moore.
Thank you, Doug. This is my report for April 14th, 2025. Table tennis at Otter Valley North Campus has been suspended for the spring because of lighting issues. Congratulations to the 2025 Kids Idol winner, Owen Lewis. The second grader's impressive rendition of the song My Shot from the Music Hamilton earned him the title and an opportunity to perform at the Brandon Idol finale on May 16th. Adult pickup basketball on Thursdays will be moving from Nesherby to Otter Valley starting in May. Our summer planning has begun, some new offerings, basketball clinic at Otter Valley, a cheer clinic at the town hall, a field hockey clinic, disc golf, archery, and outdoor photography camp is being planned for the slate of summer programming. Brochure is being made for distribution in May. Town hall news. Calling Right Events is renting the town hall to present the always popular wildlife encounters on April the 18th. $5 tickets at the door. World of Hurt Wrestling returns to the Brandon Town Hall on April 26th at 7 p.m. This is a rental. Tickets are available on their website and at the door for sale on their website. twice. May 2nd, the town hall will host a haunted house as part of the Calling Rates event Halloween weekend. Tickets are available at the door and online. On May 10th, the Brandon Town Hall will once again play host to the wildly popular Jeff Rapsis, silent movie presenter in the film The Strongman from 1926. For years, the Friends of the Brandon Town Hall, FOTH, would produce this unique monthly offering. With the Friends of the Town Hall completing their mission to renovate the town hall, their organization ceased operations, but have worked to fund this time-honored late spring to fall monthly offering. Free admission and donations are accepted, and those donations will be used to fund the future year's silent movie series. And not on my printed report, but as a part of other community development, we did receive a FRCF, Flood Resilient Community Fund application for 191 Newton Road for a buyout. Those owners have decided to go ahead with that. And so we're going through the process of that buyout, and that's at 191 Newton Road. The state was particularly excited about funding that because it's in a spot that could be used for a future more floodplain restoration and possibly creating a structure there, or not structure, groundworks capacity to accept more of the flow on the north side of the Neshabie at that point. So we're proceeding with that. And that's my community development report for today, 14.
Questions of Mr. Moore from the board?
Nope.
I have one simple one, and it may end up being with Mr. Hopkins too. I don't know. I just, because of the statement in there about the completing the mission to renovate, just wondering if there's any update on the timeline when they group. No update.
The only understanding I have is that they expect to be here in May,
May.
month of
Okay.
May. Yeah.
Questions for Mr. Moore from the public? We are moving on. Item 7, designate board chair or vice chair to sign payroll warrants between meetings. We discussed it at the last meeting 3 weeks ago.
Yes, and we discussed it in detail, and my understanding was that we decided we wanted to do that, and so I moved to designate the board chair, Mr. Bailey, or the vice chair, to sign payroll warrants between meetings per 24 VSA section 1623 until the next board reorganization in March 2026.
We have a second for that. We have a second. Discussion. None heard. We discussed it 3 weeks ago. All in favor of the motion to approve for the chair or vice chair to approve the payroll between meetings, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Item 8, certify compliance for town roads, bridges standards, and networking inventory.
Mr. Chair. So this is an annual certification. The town does have standards for roads and bridges that meet or exceed the state's minimum requirements. And the town does have an up-to-date highway network inventory identifying location size deficiencies and conditions of roads, bridges, and culverts.
We have a motion from anyone.
I'll move to that we certify our compliance for the town road and bridge standards and network.
We have a motion. Need a second.
I'll second that.
Motion and a second. Discussion. This is something we file every year.
Yes. Yes, Mr. Chair, something that we file every year and is required for our participation in things like that Class 2 paving grant program that I talked about at the beginning.
No questions. All in favor of the motion to sign the certification of compliance for roads and bridges standards, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Another annual, approve the annual financial plan for town highways. Mr. Hopkins.
So this one, the state gives you the first three lines. That's the state aid that comes for class 1, class 2, and class 3 roads. The town tax funds is derived from the spending approved in the FY26 budget. The $1,300 is fees for things like overweight permits and so forth. And then there's $100,000 there for local option tax, which, you know, they won't hold you to it if you want to spend something less or more, but that was a number that had been talked about. So that's a total of $797,655 on highway spending. They do ask to break it down between winter maintenance and non-winter maintenance, which we've done with a formula of 5/12 labor plus all road salt and winter sand being attributed to winter maintenance, 7/12 labor plus all ditching, mowing, and some of the other things that can't be completed in the winter, like signs and posts and guardrails, that all gets attributed to non-winter maintenance. And then the road paving, so $797,655 on the expense side. They're asking you to sign a certification that you will raise taxes to equivalent to spend at least $300 per mile. Our plan will spend for 58.464 miles of road. Our plan will spend $797,655, which results in an investment of not $300, but $13,643 per mile.
Pleasure of the board.
Make a motion, we approve that.
Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second. Discussion. No discussion. We have a motion to approve the financial for town highways. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Set correlates pretty much the same we spend every year.
It's fundamentally the bottom line of the town budget for the highway department with a very small number of adjustments like what you're pulling in from the local option tax.
Item 10, consider purchase order 12401 for used case tractor. Mr. Hopkins.
So, Mr. Chair and members of the board, you may recall during the budget planning workshops that the number of $35,000 was kind of bandied about as being necessary to replace the town's roadside mower that is mounted on the loader. Since that time, our Highway Division Chief, Jeremy DeSorda, has done some investigating. He's made some visits to some equipment users and to some folks who have been doing roadside mowing in other communities for a number of years. And he's actually faded on the idea of using the loader and buying a new mower for it, and rather is proposing to buy this used case tractor for $16,500 and put an offset mower on the back of it so that the loader doesn't get tied up. And the tractor, obviously, at other times of year can be used for other tasks that require that kind of equipment. We did get 2 additional quotes beside this one. He is comfortable with the condition and age and price of the used one rather than the new ones, which are more than twice the money. And I would recommend to the board, if you're favorably inclined, that this could be funded not from the budget, but from the capital fund. We coincidentally realized $16,700 for the sale of the plow truck that had the rusted through frame. So that would almost be a wash in terms of the effect on the capital fund.
I would state that I'm certainly in favor of this. During our budget workshops, we did remove this item from the budget last year. That would be going into the budget starting in July because we wanted to see where we were and what has happened since then, which makes this coming not from taxation next year or even this year, is that we had the town dump truck that would not pass inspection due to a rusted frame, broken frame. We were able to sell it. And so we sold something we could not use, and we can buy this with that money without having to dip into our funds. So I'm very comfortable with this way of doing it. Need a motion from somebody, if anyone's inclined.
I'll make that motion because I'm comfortable with that too.
In a second.
Okay, so we have a motion. Any discussion on the motion? The motion is for 16.5, purchase of a used tractor for roadside mowing and being paid for from our capital from the proceeds of the plow truck. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No one. Good deal. Thank Jeremy too, that he's willing to look at, used equipment. That was exactly half the new one was 43,810 and 36,000. So, we have a
This,
road.
this was
with it.
entirely Jeremy's idea.
Yeah.
And he absolutely did all the research and
Yeah.
presented a good plan.
Very, very good. Item 11, consider road closure request table at the previous meeting. Who was speaking on that?
So last meeting, I presented this to you. You had some more questions and chose to table it. Invited back Colleen Wright of Colleen Wright Events, and I think Bernie is also here for moral support as well. Any questions? So I would direct any questions to Colleen and anybody else that might want to ask questions.
Would you like, yeah, you would have to come up here and speak with us, which would be wonderful.
It's on? It is on. Okay. So basically, it would be 15 minutes closing. We're planning on mustering in Dave Roberts' lawn and then walking down Park Street and cutting into the lawn of the back of the Brandon Inn by Warren Kimball's house. That's it. It's a witch walk.
So are there vehicles involved or?
There are a couple people who've already signed up to do golf carts. Not cars, but you know, like the little golf cart thingies.
I know that most of the questions the last time that came from these three categories, I believe. Insurance, security, where our police department is short and the road crew doesn't work on that night. And I just want to hear you say what you're going to do. And then my concern was that all residents affected on that street have been talked to, notified, happy with it, or not opposed to it.
Well, number one, I am insured. My business is insured by Carter Insurance up in Middlebury through Chad Hayes. And what I do is I have like an encompassing insurance, and then I purchase specific riders for each event because I'm not doing events 365 days a year. So I'll purchase that rider and that'll be ready. The other one is the security, and I have 2 people from Four Seasons Flagging who I'm going to hire to stop traffic at the top and bottom of Park Street. They're going to begin to stop traffic at 5:06, and then we'll be done at 6:30. So as soon as everybody's in the Brandon Inn lawn, they'll go home. And the third one was everyone was notified with a paper that stated exactly what was going on. And that was 6 weeks ago, maybe 5 or 6 weeks ago.
Other questions that anyone may have?
And my main concern was the insurance, and it sounds like that's covered.
I'm not really in favor of it.
Okay.
I don't think we want to set a precedent of closing that. We got sidewalks we could use.
Well, you let the Boy Scouts do it. And, you know, that is the historical mustering street for the militia. So I kind of feel like it's a big, broad road. My issue with the sidewalks is that there are some dogs on the street who are, I'm sure they're not mean, but they come at you pretty quick. And we do have some elderly people who are planning on attending. And I would hate to have them get knocked over by a dog. Whereas in the road, you know, you can see the dogs coming, somebody else can get in front of it.
I'm just not in favor of closing it. You're going to back up traffic. And I
It's
just don't think it's a good
okay.
idea.
We did plan it at 6 o'clock on a Friday night so that it wouldn't interfere with school buses. And, everybody's home. They get done work at 5, they go home.
So the event is 6 o'clock?
The walk starts at 6 o'clock and it lasts till probably 6:15 when everybody's behind the inn for the Monster Mash.
I guess we might as well express our concerns. My biggest concern, I have two. Park Street tends to get overused, and I personally, after the Airstream debacle, just wanted to make sure that all residents were comfortable with it, so we don't have somebody come screaming at us like happened before. And I guess in the future, I would say it would be great to understand it totally in advance. I just like thinking Park Street is a tough street. I thought it was at 5 p.m. and I was a little more worried about, 5 p.m. people getting home from work, traffic, and having to be rerouted. So,
And Barbara Scribner, who lives on Park Street, has been part of our committee planning this. So she's been chatting it up too.
So, I mean, I hear your concern about the loose dogs, and that's why you don't want to use the sidewalks. But I mean, all the dogs that I know of on Park Street are behind fences. And there is, in addition to the sidewalk, there's a very wide swath of grass. So that people, even if they wanted to skirt those dogs, couldn't they walk on the grass?
That's a point. But for the impact of it, I would just like to be able to parade like the 4th of July parade does, like the Boy Scouts did. I know the Airstream issue was a big issue, and I totally understand that, which is why we came out early with the information for people. And the fact that it's 15 minutes versus 3 days, I think is something to be considered.
Well, I'm gonna make the motion that we allow the road closure.
I'll second.
This, we'll say this will also affect Route 7. You're not going to be able to go up Park Street at all.
So I made the motion and with a second so that we could discuss it some more.
Can you read the motion again one more time?
Oh.
Just tell me.
That I move that we allow the road closure from 6 to 6:30 p.m. on Friday, that May 2nd. For the Witch Walk.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, now we can discuss it.
And so what were you saying about Route 7?
It's going to back up traffic on Route 7. If anybody wants to turn to go up Park Street, they're not going to be able to. We have concerns on traffic being backed up on Route 7 anyway.
So they would need to go through the intersection and then turn left on High Street.
Some things wouldn't be able to make that corner. Trucks with trailers or whatever would
Oh, the
have
High
to
Street
go
corner.
all the way down. Mr. Carr would like to speak, and I am going to recognize him.
Thank you. It worked successfully for the zombie walk, and this is going to be even less amount of time. The point of having High Street and Franklin Street and Park Street all working together is that they can serve as bypasses when necessary. And I think this can be very low impact. 6 o'clock, our rush hour is done by 6 o'clock. I just think it's going to be more than doable. And we fully support any events like this that go on in town because what we're trying to do is maintain Brandon as a talking point in the state and beyond the state. We were known for years as the place that had the training school and Leduc's. And that was pretty much it. And we worked hard over the last 30, 40 years to change that. And we've just went through 10 years of hell with from Irene through all the construction. We think of segment 6 as being that 3 or 4 years of construction, but we had something contiguous to the downtown under construction from Hurricane Katrina all the way through that 2021 and 2022. We had multiple our presence in the news was, it took 5 budget votes to pass a budget in the mid-teens there. And then we went through a tough stretch of 4 years with segment 6. And now we've come out of that. And I can tell you, being in the downtown, the tourists that come through here, the people from Rutland, from Middlebury, just are amazed at what Brandon has become. It's something I dreamed. I lived here my whole life, something I dreamed of my whole life, and it's come to fruition. And I hate to let it just stop there. We need to keep building on each of our successes. And events like this, you think it's small, silly, whatever you want to think about it, but she makes it work. You come by with the trunk or treat. I went by when this trunk or treat she had. I've never seen Esterbrook parking lot so full of vehicles as I did when I went by that. We have a carnival up there that people come from all around the area to go to. And all that brings in attention to the town, and it's a vibe. I have more people that say to me, other villages and other towns, this stuff doesn't happen. And the fact that we're making that happen is what makes us what we are as a village and a town. I don't want to see us end up looking like we did in the 70s and the 80s, where we have a bad vibe, people hear bad things about us. We need to keep moving forward positively.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Mr. Carey. I had one last question on it. You already said it, but I just didn't hear it clearly or know where it is. Where are you getting the group together that's going to walk down the street?
We're going to gather on Dave Roberts and Steve Jupiter's side lawn. So we won't have anybody on High Street, Marble Street at all.
And you clearly understand, though, the concerns that this.
Oh, I understand. I understand and I appreciate it. But this is not the first time ever you've had,
I agree.
and this will be the least invasive that I could make it.
Whom? Yes. State your name and then.
All right. Hi, I'm Arturo Mendiola. A lot of people know me by now. I volunteer a lot, especially with Colleen. And you know, if you guys have a lot of problem with the Route 7 closure, you guys got to kind of meet us halfway. We can close the road halfway if you have problems with the trucks. A lot of people are going to have golf carts, so we don't want them in the sidewalks. So it would be better to have them on the main road, even if it's just one half of the road. So if we could just close one half of the road, that would be perfect. But we would rather have the whole road, and plus it's just for 30 minutes
15.
or 15 actually. So it wouldn't be quite detrimental to the people that are coming by, especially for the big trucks. It's only going to be for 15 minutes. So, you know, we saw all the people in the park and how much uncertainty and how much unrest there is right now in the US. This just brings the community together, you know, even little things like this. And that's what we want for Brandon. I was born and lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico, where they never do any of this stuff. And right now they're calling the National Guard to police the area because there's just so much crime and unrest there. This just brings the community together. And I know that there's some people that just don't really care about the community, but I think we should care about the community and make Brandon such a strong and positive community for everyone. And also this is going to bring a lot of business to the people here for, you know, Brandon House of Pizza, Car, you know, place, and just the other people, and just get recognized a lot. So that's what I have to say. So
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah, I would not be in favor of just closing half the road, because I think that
Rather, you'd be
risks
afraid
more-
somebody speeding
risks
down
more,
the other
yeah,
half.
it risks more accidents than, yeah, I would, if we're going to do it, I would prefer that we close the whole road.
Any additional questions?
I have one.
You got one. Who is
Jan
that?
Coolidge. So I'm not in favor of closing Park Street. You say how much you use Esterbrook Park. why is closing Park Street your first option? To me, you would want less road closure to prevent or to support an event. You keep saying you want to do more at Estabrook Park. This was your perfect opportunity. Yet you choose to close down a road, which affects people. High Street shouldn't have those big trucks on it. It's just like consideration to the whole town. Estabrook's there to be used. Use it.
Well, Jan, the reason we wanted to have it downtown was to try to encourage business for our local downtown business owners. Up at Estabrook, I'm happy to get vendors up at Estabrook, but it doesn't really help the people who are here every day of the year. And something like this will.
They can still come downtown afterwards before. It's not like it's all, it's how many hours. They can still support the town other days before or after your event. So that's a moot point to me.
Okay, I see one more hand up here, so we'll go to you, Vicky. You can comment up front.
Question for Colleen.
Sure.
Is this primarily for children, and how many are you expecting?
It's not primarily for children. Children are, of course, welcome. We're expecting maybe 75 people, which is why we're able to do it in 15 minutes. After the Witches Walk, we have the Monster Mash, which is 2 bounce houses, karaoke. 22 Park is open to get food. The bar at the Brandon Inn will be open. And that's a free event for anyone to come and hang out and have supper outside, listen to some music, that kind of thing.
I get Brent next.
What is feedback from the residents? Lady that owns the inn. And I guess my other comment is we just had 700 people in town last week in Central Park, and I don't think any streets were closed without it. So that my question is, what is the remarks from the residents on?
Most of Park Street that I've talked to has been very happy and excited about something different. I have not talked to every person on Park Street, but we did put letters, Harmony Van Eaton Wells went down the street and told people about it and handed out hard copies so they could look at it after they were done speaking. My phone number was on the paper, and I didn't receive any negative calls about it.
Okay, I saw Vicky had her hand up.
Is it something like people are going to be wearing costumes? Are you expecting people to come like line the streets and watch like an actual parade?
Yes.
I'll go ahead, Barry.
Just one quick one. I'm just listening to all this. It really does sound like a low impact event. And I support a lot of what Bernie says. I think it has a lot of value for the town. I would just ask that we be a little strategic perhaps on the traffic control. Because I was just thinking through my head what would happen or could happen. If you were traveling north on Route 7 and you wanted to turn right onto Park Street, by the time you realize you can't, you've already gone by your alternate route. So, probably
Maybe some signage.
Strategic traffic planning. But I think it's a great event. And I think it is low impact. My personal opinion.
And I would like to chime in just to confirm, because my concern was informing the residents. And so I know there were 2 residents that were disappointed in the other event last year. And so I did take the time to talk to them yesterday, and both were either had been notified and were not upset, and said basically, go for it, no big deal. And so, or they were in favor of it. So I had nobody in that street contact me either from everything that's been out there. So I do think the street is okay with this one.
I had one resident contact me. Their concern was mostly about insurance. So
And I've Excuse me. I've talked to about a dozen people who live on Park Street and none of them had anything negative to say about it.
Think we could move the question, maybe?
Call the question.
Call the question. We have a motion to allow Park Street to be closed from 6 to 6:30 or less on May 2nd for a walk.
Yes.
All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
I,
3 ayes. Opposed?
Opposed.
The ayes have it.
Thank you very much, and you won't be disappointed.
Okay, item 12. Authorize formation of a work group to update the 2002 Brandon Workbook.
Mr. Chair, so the Brandon Workbook, for those of you who are familiar with it, has been something to assist the town in thinking about thoughtful planning and designing for the downtown aesthetic primarily, but it has not been updated in more than 20 years. We have 2 planning commission members here tonight, 2 planning commissioners, including the chair. They met, and there's a proposal from the chair. It's in the packet for the meeting to appoint a working group. The members are listed there, and you could take whatever action you want. I believe the select board would need to authorize a working group, and if you authorize a working group, I believe you would need to designate the membership along the same lines that the draft proposal from the commission chair, not by identifying names, but by identifying roles that you would like to see represented on the workbook rewriting committee.
Would anyone from that group want to speak before we get started or not? Thought you might, Dennis.
We have 3 planning commissioners here.
Three planning
Yes.
commissioners.
Oh, not planning commission, historic preservation commission.
Yes,
Historic preservation commission. 3. We have 3.
we have 3. Name is Dennis Rise.
Dennis, Shirley, Vicky. They're allowed.
Sorry.
My name is Dennis Reisenweaver. I'm the chair of the Historic Preservation Commission. We were asked to update the workbook a couple months ago, and we've been planning on doing it. We had them at our meeting. We said we would do it. We voted on it. We agreed to it. We felt the best way of doing it is setting up a working group. Instead of the 5 of us trying to do it with limited, to bring in some other people to get information that we could use. We've applied for a grant for from the Lake Champlain Fund for $7,500. We figured if we have to publish and possibly pay some people, architects, graphics people, we're looking at about $15,000, and we're looking at other grants we might be able to get. We'd like to move ahead. I put together the list of 7 people. Sorry, 8 people, because there's 2 members from the general public we'd like to have on the committee or on the working group. That's all I have. If you have any questions.
Questions from the board?
So, when I read through the workbook, when I was on the planning commission, it seemed that there's some stuff in there from decades past that probably needs to be updated.
Yeah.
That perhaps the last update.
Right.
Skipped.
The last one was before segment 6.
Right.
So there's a lot of drawings in there about segment 6. All that would come out.
Right. Okay.
So that would be updated. We'd update the architectural part of it in the back. We'd also like to include Forestdale
Okay.
because we had a study done, as you know, last year. And they said there's a lot of historic interest in Forestdale because of the mining that took place and what have you. So we'd like to include that also into the book this time.
My question, I guess for either Mr. Hopkins or Mr. Bailey. So if we approve this, yeah, this is the working group, do they then come back with applications from people who want to be in the working group, and we then, so it's perhaps a subcommittee appointed by the select board?
I would call it an ad hoc committee. Yep. I believe, though, it would be an advisory and not a non-advisory committee for purposes of open meeting law. So that's the lighter touch requirement. They're not spending public funds. They'd be spending a grant.
Yeah, that was.
So they have a grant for this, so there's gonna be no.
They've applied for a grant. It's not yet in hand.
Okay.
We've also identified another grant that we're going to apply for,
Okay,
which is a maximum of 25,000.
great.
You can try for any amount below that.
Do you have an estimate on what you think this might cost with the?
Well, I put a rough budget together of 15,000. I think it'll be below that. The key is going to be, can we get people to volunteer their time?
Right.
Like an architect, graphics person, people like that. If they volunteer their time, it'll be a lot less than if we have to pay them their wages, to do the work.
Pleasure of the board, or any other questions?
So I move that we approve the formation of an ad hoc committee to update the Brandon Workbook. The committee to include 8 members as set forth in the memo from the Brandon Historic Preservation Committee Chair. It's in the packet. Period. I had to think, did I need to add anything more?
Do we have a second to that?
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any additional conversation? All in favor?
Before you go, could I make a suggestion?
Yes.
Not to exceed 8 people.
Not to exceed 8 people. That's,
Okay. So we have a motion to approve not to exceed 8 people on the ad hoc committee. All in favor?
I
Opposed? No one.
Thank
Good
you.
luck.
Thank you.
have fun.
We look forward to hearing the results.
Can someone on Zoom, we've had a couple complaints about people not being able to hear. Is that everyone or just someone's individual mic?
Periodically, people seem to phase out. Cecil has been more missing, Doug a couple times. And that's all that I've experienced.
Maybe we need to be eating our microphones. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, we'll try to do better, and we're almost at the end. So, we are at public comment. Public comment's an opportunity for community members to briefly comment upon or share concerns about items not on the posted select board agenda. We're not in a position to discuss unwarned items in depth or to try to resolve them all now. We will, however, enter your comments into the public record and, if appropriate, direct the town management team to address them. And with that, it is time for public comment, and I see Claire's first. Then I will see you second.
Hi, I'm Claire. I just want to applaud you all for the magic you did of tightening our belts the old-fashioned way by having a piece of equipment that you couldn't use, you sold, you used that money to buy something used, and I couldn't be happier about the use of our money that way. And I think as times get tough, that's all any of us wanted to see from this room is that practice of tightening our belt and still being able to do what we need to do. So I applaud you all. My hat off to you. And I bow to you on top of it.
Thank you. Praise. Full credit again to Mr. DeSorda on the.
Shirley Markland. Seth, you reminded me when you mentioned the text for the going out for the road crew. I want to thank you and anyone for the text that came out when Chef Robert was stabbed, because being updated on that information was incredibly important. And I live next door to them, so it was very important. And it was a very nerve-wracking time, and that information was real important. Thank you.
Thanks, Shirley.
I would say on that too, that the state police were really fantastic stepping in, and our system, even though we are shorthanded, the call came into our chief who got the state police here very fast. And so we still do have protection the best we can while we're still shorthanded, and we're still working on that, but it all worked, which was really good. So, other public comments? Going once, going twice? Going three times?
Adjourn.
Second.
Motion to adjourn and second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.